Welcome everyone to Microsoft Excel Lab 1. In this week we will go through the basics of Microsoft Excel and we will see how you can deal with different type of data, how you can use Excel functions, and how you can use different data and plot charts. And in the last stage of this exercise we will talk about some advanced Excel functions. But before I begin, first of all, I will go through the basics. For example, the basic terms which we use in Microsoft Excel, the title bar, office ribbon, these things are similar to what we studied in Word and PowerPoint. So just like Word, the top bar which you see on the Excel window, that is your title bar. Below the title bar, this complete box which you see, that is your office ribbon. Inside the ribbon we have different tabs like home, insert, page layout, and so on, and these tabs, they contain different groups. For example, the settings related to text, they are combined in the font group. Similarly, we have the alignment and number groups, and some of those groups, they have advanced settings which we can open using the dialog box, which is this small arrow that you see on the right corner of a certain group. Now, below the office ribbon, we have this new bar here, which is called the formula bar. So we will use this formula bar later on when we are writing functions in Microsoft Excel. And below the formula bar, we have our full work area here, which in case of Microsoft Word, we called it the document workspace. In case of PowerPoint, that main work area was called a slide, and in this time, in case of Microsoft Excel, we call it a worksheet. So this worksheet is the main work area where you will edit your information, and this worksheet is divided in the form of rows and columns. So we have rows and columns in the worksheet. The rows, they are numbered, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. The columns, they are using the letters from English alphabet, A, B, C, and so on. And the intersection of a row and a column, it creates this box, which is called a cell. So different cells, they basically combine to form rows and columns, and this complete collection of rows and columns, that is called a worksheet. And Microsoft Excel file is basically a workbook. So what's a workbook? Workbook is basically a collection of one or more worksheets, which you can see at the bottom of Excel window. We have sheet 1 here right now, we have sheet 2, and we can add more sheets. We can change the name of a worksheet by double clicking. We can change the name as well. So once again, this is our workbook. Inside this workbook right now we have 2 worksheets, and right now we are in sheet number 1. Inside the worksheet we have rows, we have columns, and the intersection of a row and a column is called a cell. Now, first thing is, how do we name a cell? So how do we call upon a cell? So there can be 2 possible ways. We can either use the row number, then the column character, or the column character followed by the row number. But the proper method, which is used in Microsoft Excel, which you can see in the formula bar as well, that is, we start with the column character followed by the row number. For example, the cell which is selected right now, that is cell A5. Similarly, this one is cell B5, and so on. You can name any particular cell. Next, another thing we have related to cells is what we call a range. A range is basically a collection of 2 or more cells. For example, if I select the cell from here until this row, so this is a range of cell, but the question is, how do you name a range? So to name a range, we start with the first cell in the range. In this case, this is A1. followed by a colon, and then we write the last cell name, which is A15. So for example, in this case, the cell name, the cell range which I selected, let's say I select this cell range, so I can write it as A1 colon A15. So this is a cell range which is selected here right now in this Excel window. So this range is very important because you need to write ranges later on when we are working with advanced Excel functions. So you need to understand how to write a range of cells. We can also have discontinuous ranges. For example, if I select a range of cell like this and another range by holding the control key, I select these two ranges. So if I want to write them down, I can write them in this manner. I can say I have selected the cells B3 to B14, comma D3 colon D14. This is how you can write discontinuous cell ranges. So that is one more thing you should know about. Now, the next thing I'll talk about is what type of content the cell can have. So a cell can have three type of information. First of all, a cell can contain what we say a label. It can also contain a value, and the third thing a cell can contain is a formula. So we will discuss each one of them separately. So first of all, what is a label? A label is any type of text within a cell. For example, in this worksheet that you see, cell A1 and A2, they contain labels. Cell B3 to J3, they also contain labels. And then what is a value? A value is any type of number. So if a cell contains any type of number inside it, we say it contains a value. For example, B4 to B14, it contains values. And then the third type of information we can have in a cell is what we call a formula. So formulas are very interesting. I will show you by a certain example here before we start our exercise. So let's say if I zoom in a little, so let's say I have some group of x values. Let me write them down here. So let's say I have some x values here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I want to calculate the values of y. And let's say the value of y is related to x through this formula. Y is equal to, let's say, x square plus 5. So this is just a very simple relation between x and y values. So there are different ways we can implement this. One is we check the value of x and we calculate the answer by ourselves using a calculator, and we write down the answers here in each cell. But this will take a long time. But what Microsoft Excel can do is it allows us to automatically write formulas, and it will end up calculating the answers for us. So to do that, whenever we want to tell Microsoft Excel to calculate, to write down the formula and calculate a certain result, we must start with an equal sign. Equal sign basically tells Microsoft Excel that, okay, please do some calculation. And after the equal sign, we will write down our formula. For example, in this case, our formula is x squared plus 5. And when we are writing the formula, we need to make sure the variables in our formula. For example, if you look here, x is a variable. So which cell contains the value of this variable x? In this example, if I'm calculating the value of y here in the cell C23, for this cell C23, the value of x is in this cell. And what is the name of this cell? We will use the cell name, which is B23. So I will write B23, which is my x right now, and I will write the remaining formula, which is power 2, which is x square plus 5. So when I do that, it will automatically calculate the results for x square plus 5. So this formula will now be automatically calculated. Now the best thing regarding Microsoft Excel is that we can automatically fill the remaining cells where the formula needs to be applied. As an example, imagine if we have, let's say, 1000 X values. Instead of writing the formula in each cell, what we can do is we can write the formula in one cell, and if you zoom in to this cell, there's a small square box that you see on the bottom right corner. From there, if we move the mouse at that location, it changes to this black plus symbol. And at this location, if I click and drag the mouse downwards, it will automatically apply the formula in the downward direction. So if I look here, if I switch to the formula view, you can see when I copy the formula downwards, you will see the formula automatically changes the cell names from B23 to B24 to B25 and so on. So this behavior of automatically changing the cell names, this method of referencing the cell names in Microsoft Excel, we call it a relative reference. So relative reference, basically it will automatically change the cell names inside a formula depending on the direction in which we copy our formula. For example, instead of downward direction, if I copied my formula in the right direction, what will happen is it will change the cell name accordingly. In the first example, when I auto copy downward, when I auto copy in the downward direction, the rows were changing from 23, 24, 25. That's why in downward direction only the rows are changing. If I copy the formula on the right direction, you will notice in the right direction the rows are fixed but the columns are changing. That's why in the relative reference only the column character changes from B to C to D and so on. So this is just a basic introduction related to formulas in Microsoft Excel. Now we go back to our exercise and let's begin. So the first step in our exercise is related to formatting. In Microsoft Excel, there are three types of formattings. We have basic text formatting. We can use on cells, we can use it on labels, we can apply color, background colors, alignments, things like that. Then another type of formatting we have is what we call number formatting. I'll talk more about it after a few minutes. Then the third type of formatting we can have is conditional formatting. So these three type of formattings we will discuss. The third one we will talk about it in the next week's exercise. For now we will just discuss the first two. So let's begin with the text formatting. So it's written here in the exercise first step. It says here select the range of cells B3 to J3. So the first step I will do is make the selection from B3 to J3. So I selected the cells. After that it says apply center and middle alignment. Center and middle alignment. So in the alignment group there are the 6 alignment options available here. Normally we have the left, center and right alignment just like in case of Word, but in case of PowerPoint, in case of Microsoft Excel, when we are dealing with cells, we are introduced with 3 more types of vertical alignments, which are top, middle and bottom. To give you an example, once again, if let's say I have a cell here, let's increase the width of this cell. So if I have some text here in the cell, normally in just like in Word, we can have the left alignment, we can have center, we can have right alignment. But here Excel introduces 3 new alignments, that is we can also have the top alignment, middle alignment and bottom. So these are the different type of alignments we can have in Microsoft Excel. So let me undo these changes which were just there for your example. explanation. So back to our exercise. So I've selected B3 to J3 and it says apply center and middle alignment. So from the alignment group I will apply the center alignment and I will also apply the middle alignment, and then it says also apply wrap text. So let's see what wrap text will do. If I select this B3 to J3 cells and in the alignment group there is a button for wrap text. So wrap text, what it will do is basically it will increase the width of the row so that you can see all the text which is available in a particular cell. So you can do this using the wrap text button, or you can do it manually adjusting the height and width by yourself as well between the columns or between the rows. Then it says color and add borders to the cells according to the output. So let us open the output in this Excel exercise. So we have the output file as well. This shows us how the output will look like after we complete the exercise. So first notice the background color. So let us apply the background colors. You can see B3 to J3 they have green background color. So I can apply that B3 to J3, and for the background color in the font group there is the bucket symbol. You can use it to apply the green background color. Then let's see what else we have. The cells A1, A2 and A16, their background color is yellow, so I will select A1, A2 and I will hold the control key to select A16 and then I will apply yellow background color. Next we need to apply borders. To apply borders, first we need to select the correct cell range, that is A1 to B2, then B3 to J14 and A16 to B16. So let's select the data first. So I have selected the range A1 to B2, then I can hold the control key to select A1 to B2 and then I can hold the control key to select B3 up to J14 and then I can select A16 and B16. So once we have selected, notice that the border colors, they are red in the output. So first you will change the border colors from the border button in the font group. You can select the line color to be, let's say, red, and then you can apply all borders around this particular table. So this is how you can apply a very basic text formatting here. So let's get back to our exercise. So now it says format the range of cells B4 to J14 to have center and middle alignment. Once again, very simple step. So B4 to J14, I will make sure they have center and middle alignment. And then our fourth step is related to our next topic, which is related to number formatting. So up to this point we talked about text formatting, and now we will talk about number formatting. Number formatting basically controls how the values are represented inside the cells. So if a cell contains a certain value, we can control how many decimal places we want to present. If the cells contain, let's say, percentages and you want to put a percentage symbol with the values, you can do that as well. So for example, let me give you some example here first. Let's say you are representing the sale prices of certain books. Let's say we have different books here, book 1, we have book 2, and so on. We have other books also, and here you want to write down their prices. Let's say the prices, for example, let's say 20 SAR and 30 SAR, but the problem is you have to write the unit of the currency with each value. This method, it will convert this cell from a value into a label because it contains text inside. What I want to do is I want to keep the number 20 and the value 30 here, and I want to keep the value, but I want to present it in the form of the currency as well without affecting the value. So what we can do is I can simply select the two values. I can go to this number group and click on the number dialog box, and I can change the format how I want to present. I can present it in the form of currency. There are many other types we have that can be asked in the exam. So right now I will choose currency, and I can choose SAR here, and I can control the number of decimal places I want. So right now I will choose 0. So if I do that, you see now the currency symbol will also appear with the values. But if I double click inside, the cell contains the value only. So I can use the value for calculations, and meanwhile I can represent it in the form of a label as well. So this is how you can control and represent numbers. So let's see our instruction now. It says select the range of cells F4 to J14. So F4 to J14 I have selected, and apply number formatting with 2 decimal places. So I will go to the number group, the dialog box button, and from number category I can choose 2 decimal places. If I press OK, it will make sure that later on, if whatever type of number I type, it will be represented in the form of 2 decimal places. So this is basic number formatting. After that, we move on to step number 6, which starts with our formulas and functions. So here the first thing here we have is, it says use the radian function. So functions, the basic principle of function is we write them in the form of y is equal to f of x. Functions are an abstract representation, so whatever input x we give to a function, it will give me a certain output. I don't have to worry about the calculation. For example, if I say I have to calculate the cosine of certain input, certain angle, so what we do is we just give the input and we use the cosine function in your calculator and so on. So functions, they give us an abstraction level so that we don't have to worry about how the value is calculated. And Microsoft Excel, it also has different functions which are built inside. So one of those function is what we call a radians function. A radian function converts the input angle in degrees to radians. So here it says use the radians function to calculate the angle in cell F4. So if I click on F4, I want to convert the angle in radians from the angle in degrees. So just like you are writing an equation, I will start with the equal sign and write down the name of the function. So how the function we use them, we write down their name. In this example, the name of the function is radians. After that, we start with an open bracket, shift plus 9, that is open bracket, and if we give the input angle for this particular output angle in radians, the angle in degrees is in the cell number D4. You can click on the cell, it will automatically type D4, and after that you can close the function bracket. So this is how you write down functions: name of a function, bracket open, input, then bracket close, and when you press enter, it will calculate the angle in radians. And for the remaining cells, we can fill the formula by dragging the cell downward from the bottom right corner. We can just drag it down, and this will auto copy the formula to all these cells. So this is how you convert angle from degrees to radians. Our next step, it says, let me zoom in a little bit. So our next step says we have to calculate the value of work. So remember, in the exam we will give you just this main equation, that work is equal to force into displacement into cosine of the angle in radians. So what you have to do is, when you are writing these equations, first of all you have to find out where are the variables. So if you look at this equation, we have 3 variables. We have force, we have displacement, and we have the angle in radians. So these are our 3 variables, and cosine is basically a function. So first of all, we need to identify which cells contain the value of variables. So for example, the force, which cell contain the value of 4, so you can check from the cell. If I'm calculating the answer in G4, the value of force is in cell number E4, so I can say force is in the cell E4. Displacement, in similar method you can say displacement value is in this cell, which is B4, so I will say displacement is in B4. And then the angle in radians, not in degrees. Angle in radians, we just calculated, it is in the cell F4. So I will say the angle in radian is in F4. So I found out where the different cell names are for this equation. So right after that, I can write down the equation. I will start with the equal sign. The force I will replace with the cell name, which is E4, multiplied by displacement, which is in cell B4, multiplied by cosine. The cosine function name in Microsoft Excel is cos. So I will say cos bracket open. Remember, whenever we are using function, we have to use bracket open. Inside the bracket, we will give the input. Angle in radians. Which cell contain angle in radians? That is F4. So this is our equation. So this is the one that I will write in the cell G4, and it will give me the work done, which is 10 joules. For the remaining cells, I can just fill the formula downwards. Then the next step is to calculate power. Power is very simple equation. So this is the equation that I just wrote down. Remember, in the exam, this equation will not be given. You will be just provided with this main equation. You will have to convert it into Excel equation like that. Now, next we have to calculate the power. The power is very simple. It is work divided by time. We follow the same procedure. First of all, which cell contains work? Work done, we just saw it is calculated in the cell G4. So I will say work is in G4. Time is equal to, which cell contains time value? The time value is present in C4. So I will say time is in C4. So simply our equation will become power is equal to work divided by time. That means it is equal to work, which is G4 divided by C4. So this is our equation that we have to calculate, equals G4 divided by C4. For the remaining values, I can fill the formula downwards. Next, we have the equation for kinetic energy. The kinetic energy equation is given here, that is half mass into velocity square, but velocity is rate of change of displacement, that is displacement divided by time whole square. So if you look at this equation one more time, we follow the same procedure. We have three variables here. We have mass, displacement, and time. So mass is available in the cell B1. So I will say mass is in B1. Displacement is in which cell? It is in cell B4. And time is in cell C4. So we have three variables. Their values are given. The cells which contain the values, I have just written them down. Next, I can write the formula. I can start with equal sign 0.5, which is half, multiplied by mass, which was in cell B1, multiplied by bracket open displacement, which is in cell B4, divided by time, which is cell C4, bracket close, power, shift plus 6, power 2. So this is our equation for kinetic energy. If I write down this equation, copy it and paste it here, then fill the equation for the rest of the cells, there will be a problem. I'm getting an error, that is hashtag value. And also the numbers that I get here, they are not same like the numbers we have in the output for the kinetic energy. So if you look at the output kinetic energy, you can notice that the values here are different compared to the one we just got. There must be a reason behind it. So let's look at the reason. The reason is you have to be careful when you are identifying the variables. So we saw three variables. We just said they are mass, displacement, and time, but they are not all variables. Displacement, you can see displacement is changing. 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is a variable. Time is also changing. It is also a variable. But notice mass is fixed. Mass is not a variable. So this is wrong. Mass is a constant. Its value is not changing. So what should we do with constants? For constants, what we need to do is we need to tell Microsoft Excel somehow that the value of mass is constant. So to do that, what we do is we use dollar signs. So this was the original cell reference, which is B1. When I want to tell Microsoft Excel that okay, this is a constant, not a variable, what I can do is I can write dollar before the cell column character and dollar before the row number. So in this way it becomes $B $1. This way of referencing a cell, we call it absolute reference. So now our formula will become, instead of B1, $B $1. And this equation, if I use it now, it will give me the correct values for the remaining cells. So this is one way to deal with constants. Now, next we have particle and decay. So the equation of particle decay is given here, that is mass into e to the power minus decay multiplied by time. So let's look at this equation. So first of all, we need to identify how many variables we have. We have mass here, we have decay, we have time. But once again, you need to check, is mass a variable or a constant? We just saw that mass is a constant. For constant, instead of using B1, I will use $B $1. Similarly, decay. Decay is not a variable. Decay is also a constant. The value of decay is in cell B2. So decay is also a constant and its value is in cell B2, but I will use $B $2 because it is constant, and time is in C4. So we have the name of the cells which we will use in the formula. The only thing left is this E. This E in the formula, that represents basically our exponential function. And exponential functions, you cannot simply write them by using the E symbol on the keyboard. A very common mistake in the exam is you write the mass, that is $B $1, multiplied by exponential. You just simply say E power. This is wrong. Please do not write it in this manner, E power. You cannot use it like this. In Excel, there is a proper function to calculate exponentials. For example, if I want to calculate e to the power minus 5, if I want to calculate this, there is a function that is called equal exp. And the function input is just the power. For example, exp power minus 5, that's it. This will give me the answer for the exponential. So using that, I can apply here. So here we have mass multiplied by e to the power minus decay multiplied by time. So for e, I will use the exponential function, that is exp bracket open, and the power is minus decay multiplied by time. This is my power, right? So decay is minus, decay is in cell B2, but since decay is constant, so I will use $B $2 multiplied by time, which is in cell C4. So this is our equation to calculate the particle decay. I can copy it and I can use it here now. This will give me the particle decay values, and once again for the constants I'm using the absolute reference. So this is basically how you can work with Excel functions. Then there are some functions whose input is not a single cell, whose input is a range. For example, up to this point we have seen when we are calculating work, we calculate for one cell and then fill the rest of the cells. We calculate for one cell the power and then we fill the rest of the cells. But sometimes there are some function in Excel whose input is not just a single cell, whose input is a complete range. For example, if I want to calculate the average of displacement, sum of displacement, maximum of displacement, these type of questions we can answer using these functions whose input is a range. So for example, to calculate the sum of displacement from B4 to B14, there is a simple function that is called equal sum. The input of the sum function is not a single cell, in fact it is a range. And remember how to write down a range. We start with the first cell that contains the displacement, which is B4, colon the last cell, which is B14. That will give me the sum of the displacement values. We can also have a function which is equals average B4 to B14. That will give me the average. We can also have function called max. We can also have equal function called min, and the input can be that range of numbers, and it will give us maximum and minimum and average of these ranges. Right now I only need the first one, which was equals sum. So I will use the sum function here. That will give me the sum of the displacement values. So this is how you can work with functions in Microsoft Excel. So let's move forward now and let's see our next topic, which is related to charts. When you are working with charts, first of all, we need to provide an input range. So it says here, select the range of cells C4 to C14, I4 to I14, J4 to J14. So let's select the ranges. So C4 to C14 I select it first, then I hold the control key and then I select the range I4 to J14. So I select these ranges and then it says insert a scatter chart with smooth line and markers. It's available in the insert tab and in the charts group. So if I go to insert tab, there is the charts group, and there you can see there is a button here that is for scatter chart. You can also go to the dialog box option and go to all charts. You can find the scatter chart here as well. There is the basic scatter, there is scatter with smooth line and markers. So I will use this one. So you see these are different options available, or you can use the shortcut here, that is in scatter with smooth lines and markers. So once you do that, it will insert the chart here, and after that you need to make some changes to the chart. So the basic ones, they are given here. It says format the chart as shown in the output. The layout should be layout 10 and style should be number 4. So if I click on the chart and go to the design tab, you will see there is a quick layout button. From there I can choose layout number 4, and then in the styles category I can choose style number, the layout is number 10 and the style is number 4. So layout 10, style number 4, and after that I have to make sure the chart looks similar to the output. So let's look at the output now. So if you look at the output, there are different things we need to change for this particular chart. First of all, look at the x and y axis values. Their range is different: 0, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Here we have 0, 5, 10, 15, 20 and 25. To change the axis range values, it's very simple. You can double click on any one of the value. It will open the axis options. This is one way, or you can right click. Okay, once again, so to edit the x-axis, you can click on the axis, right click, and you can choose format axis. It will open this window here, and from here we can control the bounds. If we look at the output, our minimum, maximum and major unit. Minimum is 0, maximum is 20. The major unit is basically the difference between the values that you see here. So 0 is minimum, maximum I will change to 20, and the major unit according to output it was 4. That was the difference between the values. As you can see here, it shows us the same difference now. Next, we also have, if I look at the output, I need to change the y-axis also, 0, 20 up to 120. So if I look at my values, they are correct, but they have 2 decimal places. So once again, if I right click and format the y-axis, you can see the bounds are correct, but the number of decimal places are not correct. So for that, you can go to the number option here and scroll down. You can change the decimal places to 0. Then there's another instruction that says the marker size should be 10, and if I look at the output, notice we are using the diamond shaped markers for this chart here. So to change the markers, you can double click any one of the single markers here and open this window. You can go to the bucket option that will control how the color and the lines are represented. You can change the lines which are connecting the data, and you can change the markers. If I go up, you see there is the marker option, and from there I can change the marker option to built in, let's say the diamond shape of size 10. This will increase the size of the markers, but to change the color there is the fill option. So if I go to the fill option, I can change the color to the blue color which is used in the output. In a similar way, I can select the orange ones. For that, I will also use built-in diamond shape size 10, and for them the background color I will choose is the fill color, that is orange. So I did the color editing. Then look at the titles now. First of all, the x and y axis title is time and kinetic energy or particle decay. And we also have some legend entries for the charts. For the blue lines, we have kinetic energy and particle decay. So let's edit them also. So x-axis title, I can just select and edit. This is time. For y-axis, this is kinetic energy slash particle decay. Notice there is no chart title. So if some element in the chart is missing, you can include it using the plus symbol here. So if you click on the plus symbol, you can enable the chart title and you can type the title. That was Excel charts. Next, the legend entries. If I want to move them, I can double click and I can go to their legend options. I can control their position to bottom, but I cannot edit their name from this location. For that, you can right click the chart, go to select data. If you go to select data, you will see then for the data for the chart is already selected, but the name of the series, the name of the values is just labeled series 1 and series 2. So what you can do is you can click on series 1, you can edit. This series is basically our I values. The I values, they were basically kinetic energy. So I can simply say here according to the output, that is K space energy. Series name is K space energy. This will change the legend name for that particular data. Similarly, for the second one, I can change to particle decay. So I'll click on series 2, edit, and change the name to particle space decay. And when I press OK, you will notice now our chart will have the same legend entry similar to the output. So this is how you can edit your charts. Now, the last section of this exercise is related to advanced Excel functions. I will go through them one by one. So first thing, you need to go to sheet number 2. So if you go to sheet number 2, we have a very large collection of data here. It starts from A1 and the data continues onward until F999. So this is the complete table of the data. So first thing you need to be careful, you need to know what is the data range. In this example, in this exercise, our data range is from A2 to F999. Why A2? Because our values are starting from A2. The row number 1, it just contains the labels. Actual values are starting from A2, so that's why my data basically starts from A2 until F999. Now, in this data, we will answer different questions. So let's say I want to find the grading in the cell G2 using an if function. So here I will talk about a new function that is called the if function. So how does an if function work? If function works whenever we have choices. To give you an example, let's say, let me zoom in here. So let's say I have the marks of some students: 45, 65, 76, 34, 87, and 66. So I have some marks here, and then what I want to do is I want to do the grading of a certain student, that is if he's either pass or fail. One method is I check it myself and I type the text pass fail for every student, but it will take me a lot of time. What we can do is we can use a function that is called if function in Microsoft Excel. If function, watch this carefully. So if function, just like any function, we start with the name of the function, we start with the open bracket, and then we give inputs, right? But this is an advanced function and it has multiple inputs. So how do we separate the inputs? We separate the inputs using commas. So this function, it has 3 inputs. So we have the first input, after that we put a comma, second input, after that we put a comma, and then we have a third input. So let's see what are the inputs. So what I want to do is I want to do the grading here for pass and fail based on the marks. So what we do is in the first input we provide what we call a condition. A condition is a mathematical inequality operators. You remember inequality operators? They are like greater than, less than, greater equal, less than equal, not equal. So operators like that. For example, if I say 6 greater than 5, the answer to this inequality is true. If I say 6 greater than 10, the answer to this is false. So the inequality operations, they have a property that their answer is always in the form of true or false. So what we do is we write an inequality operation here in the condition part. In this case, we want to check if the marks are greater than 60. So this is my requirement to pass. If the marks are greater than 60, my second input is the answer if the condition is true. My third input is the answer if the condition is false. So if I want to write pass or fail, I can say equal if the marks are greater than 60, comma, my answer should be pass. Otherwise, comma, my answer should be fail, bracket, close. But this is still not correct. I want to write the equation here in this cell. To calculate the grade for this particular cell, which is I15, which cell contains the marks? The cell which contain the marks are in H15. So here I can say if H15 is greater than 60, my answer should be pass. Otherwise, my answer should be fail. And Excel still has few more things, that is the answers, the second and third input of the if function. If the answer is a text, the text must be written in double quotes. That means I will put double quotes at the beginning of this text and the ending of this text. After that I will put a comma and then double quotes and double quotes at the end. So this is a mandatory requirement if my outputs are text. If my output is a number, I can just simply type a number here, 10, 15 or anything. But right now, pass fail example. So if I copy this here and paste it, it will give me the grade fail. And if I fill the rest of the cells, you see it will calculate grade for all the marks. It doesn't matter if you have, let's say, 10,000 or 11,000 entries, you can just fill the remaining cells according to the condition. So this is basic if function. So let's see here what we have to do. In the cell G2, it says I want to do the grading. My grading says this is the condition. It says if the units sold which are in the cell F2, so I can start by writing equal if bracket open unit sold is in cell F2. So I'll say if F2 is greater than, my requirement is greater equal to, sorry, is greater equal to 100. So that means if the units sold are greater equal to 100, the rating is gold. I should get an output that is in double quotes gold, double quotes, comma. After that we have the else part, that is if the condition is false. So if the condition is true, I should get a rating which is gold. If the condition is false, I still have two options left, that is silver and indium. So what type of problem we have here is, in the example that I showed you before, we only had two options, that was pass or fail. But here we have three options, that is gold, silver and indium. So what I did this, I checked if the unit sold was greater than or equal to 100, my answer was gold. Else means that this condition is wrong. Else I still need to check one more requirement here. For that purpose, what we can do is we can include another if else condition here. That is else if the units sold are greater equal to 50, in that case my answer is silver, else my answer is indium. So this is what we are doing. Let me show you in a little maximum screen here. So here you see if the unit sold are greater than equal to 100, my answer is gold. Otherwise I still have two options left, so I need another if function in the else part, in the false area of the first if. So here this is our condition. If f2 is greater than or equal to 100, my answer was gold, comma, bracket close. This area is basically when the condition is false. That means this blue area is same as this else beginning area. So in this block, the one we have here, we need to put another if function here. So what I can do is between the comma and the closing bracket, I can put another if function. But this if function will be without the equal sign because we are already in a equation. So I will simply start with if bracket open. Now the condition is unit sold greater equal to 50 and the units sold are in F2. So I will say okay, F2 greater equal to 50. In that case, comma, double quotes, my answer is silver in double quotes. Otherwise, comma, double quotes, my answer is indium because they are text and we have two closing brackets. So this is the equation that I have to use to calculate the grading in cell G2, and for the remaining, instead of dragging the cell down, you can just double click in the bottom right corner. It will apply to the whole cells and it will do the grading for all the remaining cells in this worksheet. Now, this is one way of doing the grading. Another way to do this is using a function called VLOOKUP. So, before I talk about VLOOKUP, it can be used for two purposes. So I will discuss the first purpose of the function, that is VLOOKUP. So VLOOKUP, first of all, it has how many inputs? It has 4 inputs. And this function can be used for two purposes. One, it can be used for searching in large database. And the second purpose is we can use this function for labeling, just like we did here, gold, indium, silver, and so on. So first let's do the searching property. So if you want to search in a large group of information, we can use this function. For example, in this worksheet on the right side, we have two questions in this yellow color, yellow background color, that is, how many units are sold by the person Levi Sykes? This question is asking us two things. That is, first, we need to find a person called Levi Sykes in this table, in this column. And once I find the person, I need to find out how many units are sold by them. The units sold are here in this column. So that means I need two things. One, I need to find a person. Second, I need to find the units sold. So this type of question, this is a searching question. So how we can answer this? It's not that difficult. So let's begin. You click on the cell where you want the answer, then you go to the button in the formula bar, which is insert function. You click on it, and here you search for the function. The name of the function is VLOOKUP. You press enter, it will find the function VLOOKUP. You open it and it has 4 inputs. First input is the lookup value. Lookup value is what you are searching for in the first column of your full table. This full table starts from A2 to F999. And in the first column, it contains the names, and we need to find out which name am I searching. The question says how many units sold by Levi Sykes. That means the person I'm searching is Levi Sykes. So the first input to this function will be Levi Sykes. So here I will just put Levi Sykes. The second input to the function is the table array. Table array basically means what is the complete range of the table in which you want the Excel function to search. The complete table begins with A2 cell until the cell F999, just like I discussed in the beginning. It starts from here until the last cell here, which was F999. This one here, F999. So how to write the range? We remember we start with the first cell, that is A2 colon F999. This is our table. So third input is very interesting. It is related to the question and also the table. So the Excel function, how it will work is when we give this function, when we give this table to the function A2 to F999, this function, VLOOKUP function, will number the columns. It will number the columns. That means the column A will become column number 1, this will become column number 2, this will become column number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6. The third input says if I find Levi Sykes in this table, which column number entry I need. So if we go back to the question, it says I need unit sold. Unit sold is column number F, but I want to write a number. So my table starts from A2 to F999. So this is column number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5. This is number 6. So my index number will be 6. The last input is how you want to search. So the range lookup option, it has two values. It can be false or it can be true. If I type here false, that will basically control how you want to use the function. Remember, it has two ways. One, we can use it for searching, second for labeling. When I'm searching, I will put false here. That means to find the exact person in the table, and if I find him, give me the sixth entry of the column. So if I press OK, it will give me the units sold, which are 184. In similar way, you can check the second formula. So you can try it here. It will give you a certain answer related to this one as well. So these are the two functions, sorry, the VLOOKUP function that I use to calculate the answer in the first one. The second one, I will just quickly do it for you. So here we look up again. It says which country is the customer Amir Alexander from. So the customer name is Amir Alexander. That is my first input. Then the same table, A2 to F999, A2 colon F999. Once again, the inputs for this one, they are Amir Alexander, A2 colon F999. Now I want the country. So if we look back in the table, which column contains country? Number 3. 1, 2, 3. So here I will say number 3, and again the fourth input will be false, and if I do that, I will get the answer Liberia. So here 3 and false. These were the four inputs for this function. And you have to be careful with the spelling when you are searching for a certain person. You have to be careful with the spaces. If you miss a space, it will not find it. So you have to be careful. So this is one method to use VLOOKUP function, that is for searching. Another way to use this function is to label. When I want to label it, just like here, remember using if function, we graded the customers based on the units sold into three categories, that was gold, silver and indium. But imagine if we have more than three categories, let's say indium, silver, gold, platinum and rhodium. In that case, if I use if function, it will take me a long time. It will be a function inside a function inside a function. That will be very difficult to write. So what we can do is we can also use VLOOKUP for this purpose. So in this case, when I'm labeling, I want to label this data, I will need what we call a lookup table. And for that, what we will do is this lookup table, it will just contain our required range and the labels. For example, if the unit solds are greater than 0 but less than 50, the grade should be indium. Greater than 50, less than 100, silver. Greater than 100, less than 150, gold. 150 to 200, platinum. 200 above, rhodium. This is the grading requirement. So when we are using our VLOOKUP function for labeling, what we will do is I will start with fx. I will open VLOOKUP function. My first input, remember I told you what you are looking for in the first column of the table. And when we are labeling, we will be using the lookup table. In this case, the lookup table is from J3 to K7. And in this table, our first column is this one, the J column, which contains units sold. So I'm basically searching units sold for the customers in this table. Now, in this table, I want to search the units sold for the first customer. So the first customer, if you look here, is this person, Candice Levy. And this person's units sold, where are they? They are in the cell F2. So basically my lookup value will be F2. Instead of typing a person name, this time, since my first column is unit sold and a unit sold of the first customer are in F2, so I will say my lookup value is in F2. So I'm looking for F2 in which table? This table, J3 colon K7. So the inputs that I'm typing right now, that is, I'm searching for F2, the unit sold of the first customer, in the column J3 to K7. Then third input says if I find the unit sold of the first customer in this table, which column index number I need? I need the grade. And remember, the column index numbers, they do not start depending on the column letter. It's not like the numbering starts from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. No. The numbering will start from where the table starts. This time the lookup table starts from here, from J. So the J becomes column number 1, K becomes column number 2. So the function is asking me if I find a unit sold somewhere here, what do I want? I want the grade, and grade is column number 2. So my third entry will become number 2. And the fourth input is, it asks me, how do you want to search? Do you want an exact search or do you want a labeling or an approximate search? So the thing here is, notice the units sold of the first customer are 117. If I do exact search here, there is no 117 units sold. We cannot find a person like that. We cannot find the grade. So in this case, the fourth input will be true. That means do the approximate search in this table, and whichever the closest I find for the unit sold, give me the grade from the second column. If I do that and press OK, so these are the four inputs, F2, J3 to K7, 2, and then true. So these are the four inputs for this function. If I press OK, it will give me the grade gold. Now for the rest I can auto copy one more time, right? But once again there is a problem. What is the problem? The problem is basically the inputs. If I look at the formula now, let me go into the formula view. If I look at the formula, you will notice when you auto copy the formula downward, it changes F2 to F3 to F4, which is okay. I want the unit sold for each customer to change. This is all right. But also notice this, when you do the relative reference, it will also move the lookup table downward. If you notice on the right side, our lookup table is also moving down and the lower sections are empty. That's why we are not getting the answers for the remaining cells here. So what we should do is we need to fix our search table, our lookup table here. And how to fix? Remember the constant and relative reference and absolute reference method, we follow the same way. So what we do is, with the table reference we write $J $3 $K $7. If we do that, that will basically make sure our table is fixed. So if I click on the cell and open the function again, instead of J3 to K7 I will write $J $3 to $J $K $7, and after that I can press OK, and now if I auto copy, it will do the correct grading. So this was your VLOOKUP function, which is used for searching here and then for labeling. The last function we have is what we call COUNTIFS function. This one is very simple. For example, once again, to make you understand, let's say I have marks of some students, the same example, 54, 65, 78, 87, 43, 12. So I have some student marks here, and here I want to answer a question. How many students have marks greater than 60. So now I want to basically count. Count is very simple function. So what you do is you go to fx and search for a function called COUNTIFS. The one with the s. Why s? I will tell you in a bit. So always use COUNTIFS function because it can handle one or more conditions. So here if I open COUNTIFS, I press OK. This function will ask me only two things. It will count, and it will count based on a condition, based on an inequality operation. It will ask me, okay, count, but what is the condition? So first thing it needs is the range. Range means which area you are putting a condition on. For example, here my requirement is how many students have marks greater than 60. So my requirement is on the marks data. So first I need to provide the data. The data for marks is from J42 to J48. And then it will ask me what is the condition on these marks. I will say the marks should be greater than 60. So I just type greater and 60 and then press OK. It will count and it will tell me that okay, there are 3 students whose marks are greater than 60. So this is when you have only one condition. You can have more than one also. Let's see. So here it says how many customers are from country Saudi Arabia and they have retail sales channel. So let's try to answer the question one by one. So here, remember, for every condition you need the data range. Where is the data? The first part of the question says that the country should be Saudi Arabia. So first I need to find out where is the country range. The country data range is from where? C2 until C999. So I will say okay, the country range is from C2 to C999. Okay, what is the criteria on the country? The requirement on the country there is that it should be Saudi Arabia. So I will say the requirement for the country is Saudi Arabia. Then there's another part to the question. Another part to the question says the customer should have retail sales channel. So where is the sales channel column? Sales channel is here, E2. E2 to E999, and the channel should be retail. So these are the 4 inputs. So what I will do now is I will go to this M4 cell. I will go to FX. I will search for a function called COUNTIFS with an S. I will press OK. It will ask me what is the range for the first condition. It is the country range, which is C2 to C999. What is the condition on the country? It is Saudi Arabia. So I will just type Saudi Arabia here. And when you type, you see it will give you more options. Criteria range 2. Range 2 criteria is E2 to E999. That is our sales channel. And what is the requirement on the sales channel? It should be retail. So I will put retail here. So these are the 4 inputs. And when I press OK, it will give me the answer, which is 2. Similarly, you can answer the second one. It says how many customers have units sold between 150 and 175. So I will open COUNTIFS again. This time my requirement is on the same information, that is the units sold should be greater than 150 and less than 175. First of all, where is the units sold column? Units sold column is F2 to F999. So my first condition says F2 colon F999 between 150 and 175. That means greater than 150 and less than 175. So one condition is greater than 150. This is the first requirement. The second requirement is also on the same data. So I will say that again for F2 to F999, my second requirement is that it should be less than 175. So if I type these information here, I can get the answer. F2 to F999 greater than 150, F2 to F999 less than 175, and based on that I will get the answer 115. So that is basically the end of our first exercise related to Microsoft Excel. Once you finish, you can go to File, Save As, go to Desktop, and save the file with the name Excel1 minus your ID, whatever your ID is, and submit according to your instructor's instruction.